All right, so strap in. This is going to be our discipline masterclass, or training all around discipline, how to develop it, how to master it, how to make it a part of your life. So here we go. This one's going to be a lot of fun. So what we're covering in this training in particular is why discipline is even important in the first place, how to create rules for yourself, habit building via repetition. So how does doing something repeatedly build habits, and then what the difference is between motivation and discipline. They're totally different. So why this is even important in the first place. So eventually your motivation will die and you're going to need something else as fuel to keep you going, because if you consistently rely on just motivation alone, you're going to burn out and you'll have periods of low motivation where you do absolutely nothing. And we'll touch on that in a bit too. Having discipline prevents you from falling off. So you notice a lot of times you see a lot of people, especially busy women, will go around and they'll do really well for 3 or 4 weeks. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm kicking ass. I'm going to the gym. I'm eating my food. I'm doing all the great stuff. And then boom, something happens and you fall off. Right. And then at that point, it's twice, 3 times, 4 times as hard to get back on once you've fallen off. So having discipline prevents that. It can be applied into every aspect of your life, your job, your family, your business, your whatever you're doing. Discipline is it can go across many disciplines, no pun intended. And it's a great trait to pass on to your kids. So it's a good thing to show them and a role model to your kids as well. So first thing we're talking about here is how to create rules for yourself. A great quote I've heard is rules equal freedom, but they have to be your rules. Okay. So rules are something that are to be adhered to, not something that can be negotiated. So like, for example, like when you go to school and, in the classroom, the teacher says, no talking while I'm talking. Well, that's not something where you can say, well, can I talk a little bit while you're talking? Or can I have this like whisper conversation while you're talking, Miss Teacher? They're going to say, no, it's a rule. When I say I'm talking, you're not going to talk. It's a rule and it's going to be stuck to. So when you create rules for yourself, it's not I sometimes go to the gym and if I'm feeling like it. It's a no. A rule for myself is at this day and this time, I go to the gym and no matter what else happens, that's not something I can negotiate. So for an example, right, I will not eat past 8 p.m. That's a rule that I'm going to set for myself. It's something that's going to allow you to maintain consistency and you don't break it, right? Same thing with here. I will work out 3 times per week. When you make this a rule, you cannot be broken. You'll never fall out of it. So if you switch this mindset that you have, right, and you think about it instead of something that, I'm doing if I have the time, or something that I'm doing when life is not crazy or whatever. Life is always going to be crazy and you're never going to have the time, ever. I promise you. But if you switch the mindset around it and you say, I'm working out no matter what, it's a non-negotiable, and you have that switch, then you're never going to fall off and your consistency will stay. Okay. No matter what's happening around you, the rule applies. So if you see working out as something you will do, you'll never see it as a problem again. Okay. So another thing in here too is if you don't make rules for yourself, you'll end up living by other people's rules or the rules of nature. So for example, my friend wants to eat out tonight at 8 p.m., but I have a rule that I don't eat past 8 p.m. So I can either not go out to eat with her, say, no, I'm okay, thanks. Or I can offer a different time. Hey, do you mind getting lunch tomorrow at 1, when I'm in my window, right? So if you have given in to your friend and agreed to go with her, you broke your rule and then you sacrificed your discipline. Thus, you sacrificed your progress. Okay, you kind of see how this can apply to other things as well. If life is going crazy, whatever, and you are allowing yourself to break the rule of going to the gym 3 times a week and you only went to the gym 1 time this week, then you can see how your discipline is starting to slip. You're breaking your own rules, and then your progress is going to significantly slow down, if not stop. So it's important to have those rules for yourself. The next step here is creating habits through repetition, right? Habits don't just fall out of the sky. You have to do the thing over and over and over and over again in order for it to actually become a habit. So discipline is doing something you should no matter what, even if you don't want to. It's not doing it when it's convenient. It's doing it all the time. So by doing something over and over again, no matter the circumstance, a habit is going to form. Okay, so habits will not form if you're only doing the things you should when you want to or when it's convenient. Okay, so if your day, if you have a rule for yourself that on Wednesdays I work out because on Thursdays my day is just crazy and there's no way I can work out, Fridays is too crazy too, but Wednesdays are a day that I have enough time to where I can work out. And I know that that's the only other day because everything else is always jam packed. What happens when Wednesday gets a little jam packed? All right, now you got off 2 hours late. What happens? Do you sacrifice the rule? Do you break the rule for yourself that Wednesdays is a day you go? Or do you have the discipline to go, damn, well, I guess I'm getting home 2 hours later today. And you just go. It's a skill that takes time to acquire and to get good at. But when you consistently do the things, no matter what goes on, your habit will create and you will have it forever. If you only do the things that you should when things are easy, then you will never make any true progress because you'll always be stuck in this room of one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back, and you're running in place. The only way you'll ever lose weight and keep it off is by doing things right, is by doing the right things over and over until they become so ingrained in your routine that they become a rule. All right. So this is something you can really keep in mind as you're going through. Okay. Well, if I skip this time, what happens next time when I get busy? Am I going to keep skipping and then just never get anywhere? You have to ask yourself that question. Okay. So the last little bit here is the difference between motivation and discipline. There is a difference. Okay. A lot of times you'll hear people touting and saying, oh, you got to be motivated to get to the gym. You got, where's the motivation? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's see it. Let's see your motivation. Let me see it. Motivation is shit. It's going to be high. It's going to be low. It's going to be all over the place, right? Motivation is having the desire to do things. It means you're excited and you're ready to make the changes and do the things that you have to. It's fun to have motivation. Motivation feels good. It's very easy to do the right things when you're motivated too. Oh, I'm on this health journey. I'm doing the right things. I'm going to skip the fast food line today because I'm going to go home and I'm going to meal prep and I'm going to make. You're motivated at that time when you're trying to make those changes, right? It's the motivation is super, super high. It's easy to do that stuff. But discipline is doing the right things even when you don't want to. Because as much as I would love to say your motivation is going to stay at that level all the time when I'm going to meal prep and I'm going to do all this and I'm super motivated, I'm ready to go. That's probably going to be like maybe 15, 20% of the time. The rest of the time, you're going to be like, damn, I really don't want to do this workout. I really don't want to go home and meal prep. I'm exhausted from work. I've got kids at home. I've got to take care of them. I really don't want to do that stuff. Discipline is doing the right things when you don't want to and when it's not convenient. It is not the same as motivation. So for example, let's look at it this way. Okay. Let's give it a new example because this has actually happened to a few clients while they've been in our program. This exact example right here. So let's say you get a new puppy and now you're in the midst of the peeing in the house, the whimpering at night, and the eating all the time phase, right? You just got the puppy. He's brand new. He's, crying all the time, doing all that crazy stuff, right? I can guarantee your motivation is going to die. I can guarantee you, because I've seen it happen before with clients, you're not going to want to work out because you're tired and you have to go home to the dog instead of going to the gym. You don't want to spend time cooking healthy meals because you're stressed and you're tired. You just want something quick and easy. Okay, those are the thoughts going in your head. The last thing I want to do right now is go work out because I'm super stressed. I didn't sleep last night. I have no energy, right? Or the last thing I want to do right now is go home and cook for 4 people because especially this ungrateful child that I have and this puppy's over here whimpering in the corner and the house is a mess and just all that stuff. And I totally get it. It happens all the time. And you cannot tell me at that point that you're going to try and rely on motivation. Your motivation is going to be nowhere to be found at that point, okay? So at this point, you do have 2 options. You can allow your low motivation to overcome you and you can stop working out and start eating poorly again. You can skip the gym to go take care of the dog. You can start, ordering out, ordering in, not cooking, stopping by Arby's on the way home. You can start doing those things again, okay? Because life just got a little bit harder in the moment. Or you can follow the rules that you've set in place for yourself. I will work out 3 times per week. So I'm going to put the dog in daycare or I'm going to put it in a crate or I'm going to leave it with the family because I have a rule that I'm going to the gym. I don't give a shit what is going on around me. It's going to happen. I don't care if, there are certain circumstances, of course, where there's exceptions to that rule. Okay. Significant death in the family, totally understand, things of that nature. But when life just gets a little bit harder and then the motivation kind of goes down a little bit, That is the key moment right there when you have to decide, which way am I going? Am I going to let the low motivation overtake me? Or am I going to accept that, hey, life is a little bit harder right now, but I have these rules, and no matter what, I'm going to follow through with them. I will leave the dog in the crate, and I'm going to prepare my food. And I'm going to make extra portions so I can take it for lunch and or I can eat them for tomorrow. I have rules. They're non-negotiables. When life gets a little bit harder, I'm not just going to completely change everything that I've put in place just because life got hard. This circles back to one of the earlier modules we were talking about making yourself a priority. This kind of goes along with that, okay? Having rules set in place, non-negotiables, things that will not change no matter what. When you can get to that point of putting these things in place and they don't change no matter what's going on around you, that is freedom. Because you're not allowing other things and other people to control you. You are the one who becomes in charge of you. And yes, you're taking care of your priorities. You're taking care of the other things that are going on in your life, but you're taking care of the number one first. So if you rely on motivation alone, you're going to end up being one of those people, and I see them all the time, one of the people who needs to sign up for a 10K or a Spartan race just so they can have the motivation to stay in shape. Oh, well, I got to eat right, and I got to go work out because I got this obstacle course race coming up in a few months, right? How many times have you heard that? So I signed up for the 10K because I know that's going to force me to go train, and that's going to force me to go run, right? How many times have you heard that? You don't want to become that person. And this, I'm going to tell you exactly why. When you rely on the motivation to keep you working out, right? Like, take that person who's training for the 10K, right? Well, what happens when the 10K gets canceled because COVID part 2 comes in? God forbid. I'm totally kidding. That's not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what if something crazy happens and then the 10K stop? Or what if, you get injured and you can't do this 10K that you're planning to do? Are you just going to stop working out completely? Like, you have to rely on something else besides an external motivator to continue going. Because what happens when you're 65 years old and you can't run a 10K anymore? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep trying to sign up for all these events? Or are you going to have the discipline to find something that works for you that you can consistently do over and over and over again? You have to have that mindset switch. So the last little bit here that I'll leave you with is, when you rely on discipline and you set up rules for yourself, you will reap the rewards of putting in the work when you didn't want to. There's nothing in the world that is more rewarding than having a shit week, having absolutely nothing go right, but you stuck to your rules. You stuck to the gym, you stuck to the eating, you stuck to the stuff that you were supposed to, even when everything else around you was not going right. At the end of that week, there is nothing more rewarding in the world than looking back and going, wow, I just had one of the worst weeks, but I stuck to what I was supposed to do. The feeling of accomplishment is insane. Okay? So if you start to rely on discipline, you will never have to rely on motivation again. Because motivation will die. It will be low. And if that's your fuel source, you're screwed. So again, the last sentence here. The situation does not have to be perfect, but you're still going to take care of yourself no matter what. So I hope this was valuable for you. I hope this switched some things up in your head, and I hope you realize how important it is to develop the skill of discipline, doing shit even though you don't want to do it. Or another way to look at it is not doing stuff even when you do want to. You can probably think of some examples there too. So think about that. Let your mind change. Let your mind open. Let me know if you have any questions about this, and we'll talk soon.